Hello everyone and welcome back to your channel. This is the fourth video on the topic Ace the Challenge CIA Challenge Exam. In previous three videos, we discussed the basics of the CIA Challenge Exam, the difference in three-part CIA and CIA Challenge Exam, and the timeline and the cost of the course. In this video, we will discuss the content of the course, that what you will be studying in the course. Okay. This video is going to be a bit larger and a longer video than the previous one, and I assume that if you are watching the fourth video, you are really interested in the course. So let's move on. Now this is the one-pager summary of the course that we studied, that we understood previously as well, right? So in the previous video we discussed the cost, the timeline, and in this video we will discuss the content. Now, as we are chartered accountants, we can quickly sum up that part 1 and part 2 are the 78% of the course. We need 80% to pass. We will study the part 1 and part 2 thoroughly, and part 3 we will study upar se. You will fail. If you are thinking preparing like this, I can sign and stamp and say that you are going to fail. Yash, why are you being so arrogant? I am not being arrogant, and I am extremely sorry if you believe if I am behaving like I am arrogant. Yash, why are you being so arrogant? I am not being arrogant, and I am sorry for what I just said, but this is the truth. In the first two videos, we discussed the passing percentage is 44% only, and when I took my exam, we were a group of 10 to 12 professionals, chartered accountants, who took the exam, and only 50% of us qualified the CIA Challenge exam. So 44% to 50% is the passing percentage, and you won't believe me that everyone who didn't qualify, they said, Yash, we did our part 1 and part 2 thoroughly, and in part 3 we were not able to answer the questions related to IT. We were not able to answer the questions related to data analytics. In business acumen, we were facing some challenge. Why? Because we have this tendency to study for 40 marks, to study for 60 marks. Let's prepare for 70 marks, paper will be 120 marks, we will leave this subject, we will leave this topic, and we will qualify. This is how we used to study in our CA journey. But believe me, when you look at 22% of this course, I recommend you to study it thoroughly as well and not to leave it. Said that, let's move to the majority of 70% that you will be studying in the course. Okay, so in the 70% of the syllabus, it is majorly around the international standards on audit issued by IIA, right, and the code of ethics, as well as the mission of the internal audit and the definition and the glossary. So these are roughly 230 pages. And I can say that these 230 pages you have to study. What is the proficiency level that you require to study? Let me tell you with an example that if at midnight I wake you up and I tell you to recite the series of the standard, you must be able to recite. Like in 2000 series, we studied how to plan the internal audit activity. In 2100 series, we talk about GRC. In 2200 series, we talk about planning the internal audit engagement. In 2300 series, we are performing the work. In 2400 series, we are communicating the work. In 25 and 2600 series, we are communicating any omission or error noted. I have recently taken my exam. I still remember the course, and this is the proficiency that you are required to learn and understand your course, along with the basic details that are written inside the topics as well. So these are the roughly 230 pages that you have to study. Now what is the challenge you will be going to face? See, we have done our audit in Indian environment and in Indian background. These are international standards. So there will be gap between our understanding and the international standards. Okay. To bridge that, we require some lectures or some additional time to study. If you are going to self-study, then you have to Google it and you have to use ChatGPT to understand why this particular statement is written in the standard. If standard is telling us to connect with the senior management on the board on certain topics, then why are we required to have a discussion with senior management and board? Because you do not have lectures with you, you do not have anyone to tell you. Apart from me, I will be always there for you. Okay. Other than me, you do not have any teacher or any friend or any subordinate with whom you can discuss your queries, right? You have to use Google, you have to use ChatGPT. It will increase a lot of your time while preparing. That is why I recommended to take classes in the previous video. Again, back to the topic. So these are the standards. These you must learn, and in that these are implementation standards. What is implementation standard? What are implementation guidelines? What are a difference? What are attribute standard? What are performance standards? These will be discussed later on. First, let's understand what do you have to study. So let's back to the PPT. This one is the essentials of internal auditing. How an internal auditor should be, how an internal audit activity should be independent of the board and the senior management. Right? Independent of the senior management meaning that we are not influenced by their mind or their decisions. Then only we will be able to report truly to the board and the stakeholders. We have to do our work objectively. We have to do our work with due professional care, and certain things that we have already studied in CA that we have to study. So these are the 2100 series standards. These are all the details. This is the code of ethics: integrity, objectivity, confidentiality and competency. This is very basic. Purpose, authority and responsibility of internal auditors and internal audit activity. Mandatory guidance in internal audit charter. You can say guidebook of audit activity signed by board. Okay, very simply. Objectivity, independence, direct communication with board, individual objectivity, proficiency and due professional care. Right? These you can easily understand by their name. But these 1300 series, that what is quality assurance and improvement program? This is the audit of auditors, that auditors are doing their work accurately with quality. That is QAIP. So some people will be there who will come and will audit our work to assure to senior management and the board that auditors are doing their work independently, objectively and etc. Fair enough? Now these will be around the 35% of the syllabus along with few other topics as well. What is the 43% of the syllabus then? This, how the audit is done. I told you 2000 series is planning, the planning of internal audit activity. 2100 series is GRC. 2200 series is engagement planning, how to plan a particular engagement. In audit plan you prepare 10-20 engagements to do throughout the year, and in engagement plan you prepare a plan for a single engagement, and what is the scope, objective, etc. In 2300 series, what are the audit evidence, how the audit is conducted. These are the best practices. In 2400 series, the communication. 2500 series, overall opinion. 2600 series, management process and communication, acceptance of the risk. So these are a bit small standards in the end, but these 2200 series, 2300 series are very complex standards because these are interlinked. So you have to study them simultaneously. Why? See, 2000 series is also on planning. 2200 series is also on planning. But one talks about the overall plan and one is talking about the engagement plan. There is a thin line of difference, and the question will be asked from this thin line of difference only to confuse you. Your concept must be crystal clear to answer that question. That is why you have to study these 200 pages in details and regularly. Because when you study for the first time, you will not be able to link the concept. But when you study for the second time, you will be able to link the concepts. And when you study for the third time, you will be able to identify the pinpoint difference. Okay. So this is the majorly 70% of your syllabus. Apart from that, we have to study a little bit about the forensics and the fraud investigation, just the basics about the red flags and the role of internal auditors in the forensic assignments. So that will be 75% of your syllabus. The remaining is business acumen, data analytics and information technology and information security. IT will be the very basics of the IT. Data analytics, you will understand the 4 V's of data and how the data analytics is done, what are the key considerations, what are the tools, and what are the techniques. And in business acumen, you will study strategies, organization charts, and various different strategies like the Porter 5 forces analysis and Porter's and BCG metrics as well. Okay, so these are the few summary and few key details that you will be studying in the entire course. And believe me, do not take section 3 lightly. 150 questions are there, and if I multiply it by 20%, roughly 30 to 35 questions will be asked. You have to score 80%. You cannot take any chances, because you cannot answer every question in part 1 and 2 correctly. If you ask me, the 4 options will be there, but 2 options will be so close that till the end of the exam you will be asking yourself that both the answers seems correct, which one should I pick? I faced the similar dilemma during my exam for at least 10 questions, in which I was not able to decide that whether option A is correct or option B is correct, because the both were correct and I had to select the most appropriate option. This is the level of exam, and this is the level of preparation that you have to do. So I am not trying to scare you, I am trying to prepare you for the upcoming exam so you qualify in the first attempt. Okay, so that's it for this video, and that's it for today. We'll meet you in the next video.